This chapter is probably the most important chapter and one of the most difficult chapters in human history, in our understanding of the universe and the world. What it's describing, what this chapter is trying to explain, is that there are two different universes, which kind of goes against the term universe, since uni means together and the same. Universe usually means everything that we understand to exist, everything that is real in the world, in our solar system, in our galaxy, and to the far edges of space, and everything that exists inside of that. But this becomes a little bit complicated when we think about what we don't know. And it's okay not to know things, but do those things that we don't know exist in the universe? So, I wanted to just briefly explain what this chapter is all about. Let's say you're in mathematics class and you are adding. So you've added before, you know how to add two numbers. It's a pretty easy process, and in your mind you start going through the strategies to add two numbers, and you come up with the answer, and you write the answer, and look, it's right. Great, good for you. So then you move on to the next question, and it's subtraction. And in subtraction, it's about taking away. It's about having things and then having less, and what is that difference? And so, of course, you go about the strategies that you've learned to subtract two numbers, and you get the answer, and look at you, you've got 2 for 2. Good job. So then we move forward into multiplication and division, and it's all about how to do addition and subtraction at a very large scale. And so you start multiplying these larger numbers, and it's a little bit more work, but you have the strategies and you're getting the right answers. But then all of a sudden you come to a question where it's talking about, some sort of calculus term. You've got some sort of differentials, or you've got some sort of, I'm blanking. You've got some incredibly difficult math that you haven't learned yet. So you have to answer the question. This probably happens a lot on your tests. Even though we've learned some of the stuff in class, a lot of questions on tests seem to us like we've never seen this problem before. Like we don't know how to do it. And again, it's okay not to know if you at least admit, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. However, there is the fact that remains that you don't know it. So, does not knowing something mean that it doesn't exist, or does it just mean that we don't have it in our heads? So the universe comes into two different ways. One universe is outside of us. It's the objective world. It's all about objects, things that we can see, things that we can touch, things that we can pick up and look at and smell and taste. And those are the kind of things that give us the data that provides us with information about the world. So I can see that it's soft, I can see that it's blue, I can hear that it's loud, I can taste that it's sweet. Those kind of data points help us with information about the objective universe, to help us see the things around us and know where we are and what we have available to us. On the other hand, there are definitely things that we know inside of our head. So just because I know how to do multiplication doesn't mean that a kindergartner knows how to do multiplication. So does that mean that for the kindergartner, multiplication doesn't exist? If they're not aware of what it is it real for them? I'll give you a really good example. If you were, let's say, to go to a sports game, and you don't usually watch sports, and you think it's baseball, but all of a sudden they start pulling out rollerblades, and they put the rollerblades on their feet, and they start skating around this field. And this is kind of odd because we thought we knew what this sport was, but it turns out it's an entirely different sport. Does that sport actually exist, or is it made up? So in our minds, of course, we think this must be a made-up sport. It's not a real sport. However, what's stopping this sport from happening? These people put rollerblades on their feet, and they started to play baseball with rollerblades on. Does that mean it's not real? It's obviously happening. We can see it. There's a lot of data to say, okay, this is kind of like baseball, but it's also kind of like rollerblading. So we have information about it. And we know a lot about baseball, and we know a lot about rollerblading. And since we know about both of those things, we can now say, you know what, I know a lot about this sport, even though I thought it was make-believe. So there's this subjective universe that goes on in our heads that we have to understand. We might not understand multiplication, but that does not mean that it doesn't exist. That just means that there is a universe outside of us and a universe inside of us, and our job as scholars is to try to get those two as close as possible so that we have a better understanding in our heads of what the universe around us is like. If we have these two universes very far apart, then we're not comfortable with the things around us. We might not be able to do the multiplication. We might not be able to understand that there are sports that we don't know yet. This chapter is kind of a challenge because it's really new in science. A lot of people are talking now about what our consciousness is like, what it's like for us to know things or not to know things, and whether those things are real or not real for us. We've never seen the edge of the universe. Does that mean there is no edge of the universe? Or does that just mean that we haven't yet discovered the edge of the universe? Questions like that really challenge what we know, and it helps us to come to terms with the universe around us and the universe inside of us. So I know that this is a difficult chapter, and I know we're just 6th grade, so I don't expect us to get everything. But these are very fascinating things and very new things in the world of science. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, it's probably a good idea to get more informed through YouTube videos and through reading and through talking to people that know, so that when you get older into high school and maybe into college, you can choose this kind of science as your study, and then you could help people understand what the world is all about. So I know it's challenging. Take a deep breath, and let's move on to the next chapter.